West the U.S. It's Wednesday, July the 12th. This is Africa 54. Protesters clashed with the police across Kenya Wednesday during a second round of demonstrations called by the main opposition leader against a series of tax hikes. NATO leaders are wrapping up a two-day summit in Lithuania Wednesday, topping the agenda, supporting Ukraine in its war against Russia and the future of Ukraine within the Defense Alliance. And Pan-African e-commerce giant Jumia expands into rural markets where the online business potential is untapped. We'll speak with the CEO of Jumia Nigeria. All this and more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin in East Africa, where stone-throwing protesters clashed with police across Kenya on Wednesday during a second round of demonstrations in less than a week, called by the main opposition leader against a series of tax hikes. Juma Majanga has more from Nairobi.
It is the second week of mass demonstration called by opposition to protest what they say is high cost of living. But today, despite the police banning the rallies today, supporters of the opposition leaders have come out in their numbers to protest since morning. And so it has been running battles between the police and the protesters. But in a tactical move this afternoon, opposition leader Raila Odinga said they have called off planned rally that was slated for Nairobi City this afternoon, saying that it's meant to protect their supporters from the brutality of police.
The demonstration of today, I would like Mr. President and the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, to sit down and make at least a conversation. You understand? Like we Kenyans, where the people are suffering, even not them. And Mr. President, to reduce the tax.
We supported Mr. Odinga very much, but we failed. What he is supposed to do is to give Mr. Ruto a chance so that he can lead. Yeah. Not a matter of making noise every day. Yeah.
As we see now, everyone is scattered. We are not carrying any passenger. Petrol station is not working. Fuel is very high. Okay, generally the cost of living is very high. Now, I don't know what the president is thinking about the low working class people like us and the Juakali sector. We are suffering. We want to appeal to our president. If he is really genuine person, let's think twice about us.
Reporting for VOA from Nairobi, I'm Juma Majanga.
Well, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi began a three-country tour of Africa Wednesday in Kenya. Tehran is touting Raisi's visit as a new beginning in relations with the continent. Raisi received a red carpet welcome in Kenya from President William Ruto. His visit to Africa is the first by an Iranian president in more than a decade and represents a bid to diversify economic ties in the face of crippling U.S. sanctions. Iran stepped up diplomatic outreach to developing countries after former U.S. President Donald Trump ditched a nuclear pact in 2018 and reimposed sanctions. Well, now, in the region, still the conflict in Sudan has become devastating for the civilians there. The United Nations says fighting in the East African nation has forced over 3 million people from their homes. Those figures from the UN include more than 700,000 who have fled to neighboring countries. More than 72% of those displaced are from the capital, Khartoum. Around 9% are from West Darfur province, where the clashes between the military and the paramilitary rapid support forces have been largely centered, according to the United Nations. Sudan has been in chaos since mid-April, when tensions between the Sudanese government military and the paramilitary rapid support forces exploded into fighting. Well, our international efforts to broker an end to the fighting in Sudan have shown little signs of progress. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development is mandated to deal with peace and security issues in the region. For more insight on the regional peace efforts, I'm joined via Skype from Nairobi by Macharia Munene, Professor of History and International Relations at the United States International University. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening to you.
Yes, now first let's talk about the very recent talks that were held in Addis Ababa, put together by the IGAD, that is the Intergovernmental Authority of the region, and the government of Sudan refused to attend. Please share with us, what do you make of the progress or the effort in Addis Ababa?
Well, it was a good attempt, but it is not surprising that it flopped. Partly because IGAD as a body is weak and tends to depend on outside help for its activities. But more seriously, is that it appears to be divided within itself. There was, Sudan is a member of IGAD, and it had is a point of discussion, and it had serious reservations to the structure of the peacemaking body. It expresses concerns, and it appeared as if those concerns were not heeded as far as the Sudan was concerned. So it withdrew from the effort.
Yes, now we know that there's a summit now planned to happen in Egypt. This is by neighbors of Sudan. There have been talks in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. We have seen talks led by the United States. What makes this talks, the conversation around resolving the conflict in Sudan, so complicated up to this point?
Well, we have at least, in principle, two men who are very dogmatic, and each of them believes that he should be the one. They used to be buddies during Bashir's time, and they're operating in Darfur. So they have a problem coming together, or somebody has not been able to convince each of them separately that it is worth cutting a deal or stopping the fighting because of the pain it's causing in the country. That has not been done. And it appears as if there are no mediators who command the respect of both sides. And as long as there is that reality, it becomes difficult. Although the effort to bring them together is good, but they have not found somebody who is acceptable on both sides that can be listened to. Then there is also the other problem of this public diplomacy, of countries saying we are not doing this publicly, and then they kind of put those people in a corner. Yeah. Because then they say, wait a minute, we've told the whole world that this is what you are doing, and if you don't succeed, then what happens? So maybe they need to make less noise and operate behind the scenes more effectively, and something might come out of it.
Well, Professor Munene, thank you very much for your insights. That's Macharia Munene, who is a professor of history and international relations at the United States International University in Nairobi, Kenya. Going a bit south, a massive manhunt is underway in South Africa after police say 5 men and a woman were killed and 4 injured in a mass shooting when 3 men entered the yard of a home and opened fire. The shootings happened Tuesday night in the Kwanobule township on the outskirts of the town of Kariega in the Eastern Cape province. In South Africans are praising Olympic champion Caster Semenya following victory, after Europe's top human rights court ruled she should be given a new chance to fight a requirement that female athletes with high natural testosterone take drugs to lower it. Rachel Faber reports.
South Africans in Johannesburg praised Olympic champion Caster Semenya on Tuesday, after Europe's top human rights court ruled in favor of the runner.
Go, Caster, go, yeah.
The ruling said she should be given a new chance to fight a World Athletics rule that requires female athletes with high natural testosterone to take drugs to lower it.
I just say, let her finish her race, let her finish her life, and let her finish her career. We can't stop her, we can't keep trialing her, we can't keep abusing her. Let's just let her be.
It's so much of an excitement for us to actually have her back, because definitely that would be a great opportunity for her to represent our country once again.
She's running again now, so you never know what she could do for the youth or something. It inspires a lot.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for Kasta. Kasta deserves all that's happening.
Semenya, who has twice won an Olympic gold medal in the women's 800 meters, has a medical condition known as hyperandrogenism, which means she has higher than usual levels of testosterone.
Well, that was Rachel Faber of Reuters reporting right there. As the two-day NATO Summit wraps up in Lithuania Wednesday, group leaders met with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Topping their agenda was showing support for Ukraine in its fight against Russian invasion and discussing of Ukraine's future within the defense alliance. President Zelensky spoke about NATO's priorities.
The first one is weapon packages, new weapon packages for supporting our army on the battlefield, and that is one. The second, I think, the invitation to NATO, and we want to be on the same page with everybody, with all the understanding. And for today, what we hear and understand that we'll have this invitation when security measures will allow. Yes, so I want to discuss with our partners all these things, and the sword will speak today and fight for this. Its security guarantees for Ukraine on the way to NATO.
Zelensky also held separate talks with U.S. President Joe Biden. Meanwhile, Britain says members of the G7 group of nations planned to announce a new framework for allies providing long-term security support for Ukraine. Well, although the path has been cleared for Sweden's inclusion into NATO, Kyiv is not getting a timetable for its membership. VOA White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widakuswara recaps day one of the summit from Vilnius.
On the first day of the NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, the alliance agreed to welcome Ukraine to become a member without giving a time frame.
And then the decision to remove the requirement for a membership action plan, which actually means that instead of 2 steps to become a member, there will now be 1 step. And we also made it clear that the invitation will be issued when conditions are met.
Stoltenberg's proposal is a compromise. Some leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden, worry a fast track for Ukraine membership means war with Russia. Meanwhile, Baltic states, including summit host Lithuania, think it will be a deterrent. All members showed support for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who attended the summit.
Thank you for your help for our defense, for your clear, honest and bold position on your invitation for Ukraine to join NATO.
NATO leaders also renewed their commitment to spend at least 2% of GDP on defense amid Russia's war on Ukraine. Moscow's aggression has driven countries to join the alliance, soon turning it into a 32-nation bloc.
And this is a historic moment, the adding of Finland and Sweden to NATO is consequential.
Sweden's accession was secured after alliance member Turkey dropped its objections, partly because of Biden agreeing to push the sale of American-made F-16 fighter jets that Ankara has long sought to purchase. Sweden has agreed to back Turkey's bid to join the European Union.
I believe that it is now time for consultations at the level of heads of state within the scope of the strategic mechanism, and today I see this meeting at the NATO margins as the first step towards that.
The summit ends Wednesday, and Biden will head to Helsinki to meet with Nordic leaders. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Vilnius.
Well, going back to the visit of the Iranian president to African countries, President Raisi is visiting Uganda also and later Zimbabwe. The Iranian leader says Africa is a continent of opportunities and a great platform for Iranian products. Reporter Dora Atongiyere of VOA affiliate NBS Television in Uganda is standing by in Kampala with more on Raisi's visit to the East African nation, where he was expected to meet with President Yoweri Museveni. Now, Dora, did the meeting between the two presidents end already? And if so, what did they talk about?
Yes, thank you very much. The meeting between the two presidents is done, and both presidents agreed that Iran and Uganda have very good relations that have come over time, that they have built over time. Both of them agree and still strong, hold their position on being anti-colonialism. They also agree that both nations need each other, especially when it comes to oil in both countries. And they believe that both countries can help each other in this oil development. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni believes that Iran can help in identifying the places where the oil can be established in Uganda, including President Museveni saying that investors from Iran should come to Uganda and help build oil refineries. Yes.
Now, besides the talks that they held today, anything known about the Iranian president's itinerary in Uganda before he leaves for Zimbabwe?
Yes, please. The president of Iran will hold a business summit here in Uganda today, and then also open a technology house here in Uganda, where it is believed that Iran is going to help Uganda transform technology here. And also, the president of Iran is very interested in the anti-homosexuality bill that Uganda signed recently, and says that this is the only way to protect Africa and all the rest of humanity from what the West is trying to do, especially when it comes to promoting homosexuality.
Well, Dora, thank you very much. That's Dora Atongiyere of VOA affiliate NBS Television in Uganda, reporting for us from Kampala. Now, we're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, Jumia, a pan-African e-commerce giant, is expanding into rural markets. We'll have a report. Stay with us.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, 31 leaders of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, gather for a crucial summit in Lithuania this week. Russia's war in Ukraine and Kyiv's fully fledged NATO membership will top the agenda. But how will the decisions made at this summit affect Africa as a region? And what does this gathering reveal about how much say countries in the global south have on matters of international stability, security, and major military alliances? Join me, Heidi Adams, on the next Straight Talk Africa.
The FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 is set to kick off in Australia and New Zealand. Morocco and Zambia are making their debut, while Nigeria, along with South Africa, make their triumphant return to the tournament. Yet all eyes will not only be on the playing field, but on FIFA itself. On this week's edition of Our Voices, we'll take a closer look at the upcoming Women's World Cup Games and see if FIFA will keep its promise to be more inclusive and pay big money to their female players. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
Well, in other news, Britain announced Wednesday that they are slapping sanctions on businesses linked to the Sudanese military groups behind the ongoing conflict in the northeast African nation. The sanctions come amid reports by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project documenting approximately 3,000 people dying in the fighting between Sudan Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Force. Voters in Madagascar will go to the polls on November 9th for the first round of the presidential election and on December 20th for the second round, if there is one, according to a statement from the Prime Minister's office. President André Rajoelina won the last vote in December 2018 in an election beset by fraud allegations. And finally, the bodies of 2 male migrants have been found in a desert region near Tunisia's border with Algeria, according to a judicial official and a witness. Hundreds of migrants from sub-Saharan countries have fled or been forced out of Tunisia's port city of Sfax after racial tensions flared following the July 3rd killing of a Tunisian man in an altercation between locals and migrants. Now, after an anonymous TikToker created a song using artificial intelligence that fooled many into thinking it was made by pop stars, experts say the music industry will have to decide how to handle artificial intelligence music. Dina Michelle has the story.
I'm scared. This ain't Drake.
From the lyrics to the beat to the voices. A song posted by anonymous TikToker Ghostwriter977 sounded just like megastar musicians Drake and The Weeknd. Heart on My Sleeve, made with artificial intelligence, impressed fans, but had some in the music industry crying foul. And experts say it's not that hard to do.
You know, once a computer has a sort of understanding of the patterns that underlie voice in general, you don't need necessarily a lot of data from The Weeknd to generate, you know, sounds that sound like him.
Universal Music Group, which represents both artists, released a statement emphasizing the need to protect artists' music. Many platforms remove the song. Experts say experiments like this with AI are just the beginning.
The toothpaste is not going back in the tube. We have to learn how to best live with it.
Wong teaches a class on music and AI. He is concerned at the speed in which AI is developing.
What's at stake is how we communicate, how we work, how we govern. What's at stake is how we make art.
Fiebring says the music industry will have to decide how to fight or use AI.
Do they decide that it's the best way to make money is to start churning out AI songs that don't have much human involvement so they can pocket the sales of those and not pay artists?
The musician Grimes launched an AI voice software, allowing others to create music with her voice.
Well, it's time now for our tech report, and joining us now is technology reporter Paul Dio. Hello, Dio.
Thank you, Vince. Jumia, a Pan-African e-commerce giant, is expanding rapidly into rural online businesses. Potential is untapped. Jumia Nigeria is taking the lead to drive this, expanding beyond its initial strongholds in Lagos and Abuja. For more perspective, I spoke to Massimiliano Sparazzi, CEO of Jumia Nigeria in Lagos. Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off by you telling us a little bit about Jumia. You are the CEO of Jumia Nigeria. You recently did a lot of upgrades. Now you've expanded Jumia's foothold into the rural communities in Nigeria. Bring us up to speed.
Jumia Nigeria has been the first country we actually launched in the group. It's the oldest, with the biggest, and with obviously with the biggest potential, as we know, across all the countries. We've been operating in these markets, different verticals. So we have marketplace, we have Jumia Marketplace, it's typical physical goods. So products such as shoes, apparel, phones, electronics, appliances, and more sold to customers. You have Jumia Food, which is the on-demand platform, which is actually delivering meals to customers who want to have their lunch or dinners delivered in 20, 30 minutes. Okay. We have Jumia Pay, which is our financial side of the business, which allows customers and vendors to do better transactions on Jumia cashless. We have over 250 pickup stations and hubs that deliver through pickup station or door-to-door the customers. And we particularly wanted to scale in this month, in this last month of this year, our presence at pickup station in order to go and serve better even the furthest people living in rural areas, so that to provide retail where there is none. Okay, so the whole idea is that there is a need, of course, across the country, and that need needs to be satisfied, and Jumia can bridge the gap of logistics, offer, and variety on many categories such as electronics, phones, fashion, and more, and allow customers to purchase at convenience by going and walking near the nearest pickup station and get the products they want.
I'm just curious, what's the reaction been like since you expanded these services to the rural communities?
What we're doing in Jumia, we look at it in different ways. On one side, we need to serve well every city that has more than 500,000 population or 1 million population in order to deliver convenience there. Outside these secondary cities, there are tertiary cities that are smaller areas, more rural areas where we can reach. And in these cases, actually provide assortment where there is none. And then, of course, there's the most remote areas where it's even difficult to reach with infrastructure, which we're actually working towards that. So your comment on the poor of the poor, which is a statement that is difficult maybe to comment. It's more reaching where there is a population that requires retail, but there's no retail yet. And so there's a variety of cities that actually match this kind of definition. So far, the response has been good. when you serve a need at an effective way, at a convenient way, so the pricing needs to be convenient and competitive, obviously the response is good.
You've a little led the way when it comes to e-commerce. What makes Jumia very attractive to people who use the platform?
It's a safe and trusted destination where you can do your purchases. And that's, I think, it's a platform you can trust. And beyond the trust, you can trust it because of the service we're offering, but you can trust also because of the pricing and the convenience we're offering. So we always are extremely obsessed by getting the price right, by getting the logistic shipping fees that customers pay right, and where possible support those, and then ensuring that the customer gets what he likes. And if he doesn't, he's free to return it in the most simplest way. When you offer this package of convenience to customers, and you serve them, and you execute on the promise in the best way, then word of mouth is the best way for you to grow, because customers come back, and the friends and families of customers will actually be recommended by those who purchased, and in that way you become the preferred destination.
For example, I know you've had some challenges in other countries, but in Nigeria you seem to have done very, very well. What's the magic word?
The model is very much similar across all the countries. What changes is also the potential of the market, but also the age, the time we've been in the market. So Nigeria has been the very first country we launched. So we launched it in 2012. It was the first operations we launched. And right after that, 6 months to 1 year later, we actually launched some other countries. So the fact that we've been operating the longest here and being able actually to stabilize our brand here, it's definitely something that is great for Nigeria, but it doesn't mean that it's not present in the other markets.
Well, Masi Spalazzi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
That was Massimiliano Sparazzi, CEO of Jumia Nigeria. That's today's Tech Report. Back to you, Vincent.
Jumia is certainly going places, Paul? Thank you very much. Be sure to join Paul each Wednesday for the latest tech news. Well, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.